Morning, everybody. It's so nice to see. I know it's really early in the morning. It's our last day of the 2018 AAMC Annual Conference. And so I'd like to begin by recognize our amazing conference benefit co-chairs, Toby Bruce and Sharon Matt Atkins, and our conference benefit committee, who are their co-chairs, but also to Hilliard Todd Goldfarb, who first encouraged us to come to Montreal. And thanks to all the members of the committee, Heather Anderson, Maria Beaupre, Talisa Fleming, Dominique Fontaine, Jen Mergel, Hema Savasinin, Georgiana Olyarik, who have made this conference possible through dedicated efforts over literally the whole past year. Thank you, guys. I also want to acknowledge Jennifer Olivares, Head of Exhibition Strategy and Planning at the Minneapolis Institute of Arts, for her service as Chair of the Awards Committee. I know many of you were there on Sunday night, but again, to thank Jennifer and the anonymous jurors, you guys know who you are, who vetted 174 nominations, which is a record number this year, and thanks also to Pack Art for sponsoring our awards ceremony. Many thanks today. So thanks again to our lead sponsor, Sotheby's, a true partner, and to all of those who made the conference and all our programming throughout the year possible, our foundation supporters, our corporate partners, and Circle and sustaining members. And we've made many friends, many new friends here over the past few days in Montreal, especially the institutions that have generously opened their doors and shared their time and expertise with us. Special thanks, of course, to the Museum of Fine Arts and its director, Nathalie Bondil, for hosting us for these 2 days in this outstanding museum complex and in this very special space. And finally, last but certainly not least, and most importantly, thanks to our executive director, Judith Pinero, and her team, Taylor Camp and Lucy Leiden, and the volunteers, Evie Joselo and Pinar Goodstone, who've really worked so hard to make this conference possible, and Judith especially for her vision and leadership of our organization. Thank you, Jude. Now in our 17th year, the AAMC has actively grown our membership and programming to provide curators with the knowledge and tools needed to fulfill the increased demands and responsibilities of our roles. And as an organization, we have also made a commitment to celebrating, advancing, and advocating for inclusion within the curatorial field, and we seek to further these efforts at every level: our programming, our membership, our board, and our committees. We recognize that meaningful and systemic change is needed within our cultural institutions and in the art world in general, and such changes will take time. And the AAMC doesn't claim to have all the answers. But on behalf of our collective leadership, I can attest that we are committed to change. And together with a thriving, far-reaching, and ever-growing network of 1,300 curators in 14 countries and at over 400 institutions, we can make lasting change happen. We're going to be having our program this morning. It ends at 11:30. Be sure to see the galleries during lunch. The galleries will be open. We have the wonderful Picasso show, I think, is open early to us. And the exhibition, here we are here, by our own AAMC members, Julie Crooks, Dominique Fontaine, and Sylvia Forney, that will also be open. We're holding committee open forums during lunch today. So please feel free to join one of those tables, share your thoughts, maybe even become more involved in the AAMC. And don't hesitate to seek out myself, our trustees, or our executive director, Judith Pinero, and start a conversation. This is your organization, and we really want to hear from you. We believe that our programming strengthens both individual curators and the profession as a whole. I know that when I joined in my first staff position in 2002, I found the AAMC to be an invaluable source of support and knowledge and an important peer network. Over the years and through the AAMC, I learned best practices, gained skills I didn't have that I needed for my job, and met new colleagues. I cooked up collaborative projects. I was able to travel exhibitions from my home institutions. And I know many of you have had similar experiences. So may I ask that you share the value of the AMC with your museum colleagues, especially your directors, when you return to your museums? Institutional memberships represent a very important source of support for us, and would like to send the message that this support is of real value to our curator members and strengthens our institutions as well. And for those of us further along in our careers, I hope you will also consider joining as a sustaining member or benefactor. This is truly an opportunity to give back to others, especially our colleagues who are just beginning their careers. And I thank all of you here who are already sustaining or benefactors. And now, without further ado, let's move on to why we are really gathered here this morning. Today's keynote dialogue centers around the topic of cultural heritage. We are very fortunate to have Cara Compotic of the University of Toronto and Lisa Ackerman of the World Monuments Fund, two inspiring women who will talk about the work that they do to preserve and share heritage. Lisa Ackerman is Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of the World Monuments Fund, an organization founded in 1965, which has assisted in the conservation and documentation of more than 600 cultural heritage sites in 100 countries. And these range from the, as I was learning last night, the beautiful rock-cut churches of Lalibela in Ethiopia to the civil rights sites of Selma in Alabama. Previously, she served as Executive Vice President of the Samuel H. Kress Foundation, a private foundation dedicated to European art and architecture from antiquity through the early 19th century. Lisa holds an MS degree in Historic Preservation from Pratt Institute, an MBA from New York University, and a BA from Middlebury College. She currently serves on the boards of the Historic House Trust of New York City and New York Preservation Archive Project, and previously served on the boards of St. Anne's Center for Restoration and the Arts, Partners for Sacred Places, and the Neighborhood Preservation Center. In 2007, she received the Historic District Council's Landmarks Lion Award. And in 2008, Ms. Ackerman was named the first recipient of US/ICOMOS Ann Webster Smith Award for International Heritage Achievement. And Cara Compotic is Director and Associate Professor of Museum Studies at the iSchool, University of Toronto. She researches and teaches in the area of critical collections management, museums and Indigenous relations, museums and reconciliation, cultural property, and material culture. And having heard about some of her classes this year, I can attest I would really want to take one of her classes. She has led the Memory, Meaning Making, and Collections Group, a program driven by Cree and Anishinaabe seniors living in Toronto who enjoy learning about history and culture through artifact handling and collective memory work. Cara's work is also significantly shaped by her previous research with the Haida Repatriation Committee, seeking to understand repatriation efforts from within Indigenous historical trajectories and cultural values. Most recently, she is partnering with colleagues in Toronto and Cape Town, South Africa, to explore life cycles of political activism in museums. Cara has worked in museums in Canada and the UK, and is active within the Ontario Museum Association and the Council for Museum Anthropology. She is the author of The Force of Family, Repatriation, Kinship, and Memory, and co-author of This Is Our Life, Haida Material Heritage and Changing Museum Practice, and Public Humanities as Third Space, Memory, Meaning-Making Collections, and the Enunciation of We in Research. Thank you, Cara and Lisa, for joining us here today.